Hi everybody, welcome to Talk Dermodality. In today's video, we are going to be going over our chemical peel system. So we're going to give you guys a really quick breakdown of the 4 different categories and how to effectively use them. But before that, I'm just going to give it over to Tony Vogel. He's the founder and creator of the Dermodality line. And can you give us a little background of why you developed this chemical peel system the way that you did?
I certainly can. There was a tremendous need back when we first started this campaign. That actually goes all the way back to 2004 when you got a chemical peel and you were actually getting a physical burn. I talk about that a lot, and really the victim was especially someone with darker skin types, the Fitzpatrick 4, 5, 8, 6. So there was a tremendous need. Nobody had developed a process of education that allowed somebody to be able to reach out and handle all types of skin.
So the estheticians were using acids in really high concentrations,
Correct.
right? Like glycolic in 60-70% on your darker skin types, and that was causing a lot of inflammation and really burns, right?
Correct. Doctors, nurses, estheticians, everybody was. I remember as much as 75% glycolic acid. When you're going to take 75% glycolic acid, apply it to the skin, we know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we have to be able to get to the point where we can understand what the skin response is going to be to the chemical. And so really that process began back then in developing peels that we call hybrid peels, that really are a combination of different chemicals that we developed that allow the skin to be indicate what response that's being triggered.
So the conditioning peels are meant to just do that, right?
Correct.
Condition the skin, get used to it, keep the inflammation very, very low, because that's something that's really important to note with chemical peels is that it does ignite the heat factor, right?
Correct.
And if there's too much heat in the skin, too much inflammation, it releases heat shock protein. And what happens when that happens in the skin is that it creates a less than desirable type of collagen formation, which is more or less scar collagen. So just look at like burn victims and what happens to their skin as it heals. It's blotchy, it's uneven, it's not what we want.
Right, and that actually was going on all the time. It really was. And so this process, it took a little bit. We had to create more than just the peels. We had to create the other retail products that went with the peels to create a perfect fit that allowed the skin to be, as you mentioned, conditioned. Mm-hmm. And as the more conditioned the skin was, and is, the better the response. And we can control it, and it gives you a lot more predictability with the peels.
So by the other products you meant the home care, right?
Correct.
And we'll get into that in a separate video, which you'll also find on YouTube, Dermodality Home Care. But basically what that does, so when you're talking about chemical peels or any other type of in-office treatment that stresses the skin, that creates that controlled injury, mm-hmm. is meant to activate stem cells, release growth factors, which in turn create new collagen and elastin formation. But the good types of collagen, type 1 and 3, which is what we want for the skin. So when you're doing that in the office and in the treatment room, this whole this process of igniting happens, and if you don't follow that up with active and corrective home care on a daily basis, then that collagen formation dwindles down and it basically stops. So much like going to the gym and hiring a trainer, you have to go work out with your trainer, but then you also have to go to the gym in between your training sessions, mm-hmm. to get the best results. And same thing with your home care. Your clients can't just come to you once a month and then not use the proper home care and expect those great results.
You would be surprised how many professionals in our industry don't realize what you just mentioned. It's really significant. And this is why this is really important, not only this video, but for us to sit down and have a conversation about this.
Yeah. So chemical peels, they really can yield amazing, mm-hmm. results if done correctly. So what Dermodality does, it takes the progressive versus aggressive approach. We want to, again, keep inflammation very low with our base 1 peels and our Accelerator, using the active home care. The time that you want to do that depends on the client's Fitzpatrick. Again, this is another video. But you're basically conditioning the skin for a month, 2 months, 3 months, depending on Fitzpatrick and skin sensitivity. And then you're safe to move into your base 2 peels, which we're going to get into, or any other type of more aggressive treatment like laser or microneedling or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. So let's start.
Now let's get into it. So we have 4 separate categories for our peels. We have our base 1 peels, our Accelerator, base 2 peels, and our Retinol power boosters. So let's first talk about base 1 peels.
Just like for any other peel, we do have to make sure the surface of the skin is, some people call it degrease, but reduce any type of, or eliminate any type of oil on the surface, because especially with AHAs, what happens is it'll neutralize it right there. So you wouldn't get the penetration into the skin, and you'd limit the ability of those chemicals to actually affect the skin in any way. So basically, it's a non-starter. So that's the first product right there.
The prep pads, yes.
Yep.
So prep pads are used 50% alcohol, 50% acetone, meant to defat the skin, getting it ready for the acid. And then we have our mandelic and intensive brightening peels. These are, so base ones are alpha hydroxy acids, meaning they have to be neutralized in office with water. You have to stop the peel. As Tony mentioned before, they're all hybrids, so they're a combination of multiple different acids with different molecular weights, penetrating the skin at different depths, and each acid has its own function, so you're able to really correct a lot of issues there. But anybody could walk into your office and say, hello, I would like a chemical peel, and you could safely do the mandelic peel every time. And really, it's the indicating peel.
Correct.
You put that first layer on, you put the mandelic plus on, and you will know right there what state the health of that skin is in.
Yeah, it's really an important process, because without that knowledge, you cannot go forward. You just can't. So one of the things that we did in developing this peel is combine mandelic acid with lactic acid. So there's 25% mandelic acid with 10% lactic. Now, you should know that mandelic has a very large molecule. It's actually on the opposite spectrum of glycolic acid. It's 8 carbon. And what we need is our accelerator actually to allow that to penetrate. So I wouldn't use it by itself. It's not meant to be used by itself. So in each case, but you can expand on that, but each case we are using the pumpkin peel in conjunction. So
to drive it in, yes. And really that's going to be true for most 9 out of 10 people, we would say, can tolerate on the very first treatment, mandelic base 1 layer, followed by the pumpkin peel on top to help vasodilate and drive it into the skin. But as we just mentioned, there's always going to be, that one random client that just has a very compromised barrier that can only handle the mandelic peel that day. And that's totally fine. So the Dermodality line gives you the tools and gives you the knowledge on how to use them, so that you do 1 layer, you see how your client skin is doing, and then you can keep moving up into sometimes 5, 6, 7 layers.
You can, and what's exciting about mandelic is it has a split personality. It's really still considered an AHA peel, but it has a lot of BHA qualities. So it's gonna, when we are able to apply the pumpkin over the top, and the use of the bilberry that we're going to talk about that's in the pumpkin will help drive it into the skin. It was necessary because of the large molecule to actually move it into the skin now. So at that point, you can get this deep ingesting value that you really would like to have from a chemical peel that would break down some encapsulations of oils and skin together, and just helps the resurfacing process. And you can't necessarily get that with glycolic or lactic acid by itself. So we have that, but it's actually, having the combination of a little bit of salicylic in there, 2%, that helps that as well. But you do have the AHA of 25% mandelic acid, which is a beautiful chemical, anti-inflammatory. You're talking about what the skin looks like when you take that off. Actually, you find that quite often with any type of inflammation, you see the reduction of inflammation instead of seeing inflammation being caused from the peel. That's what's so cool.
Absolutely, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Yeah, most people, actually every person I've ever seen that gets a mandelic pumpkin peel, you see noticeable changes in texture, overall brightness, and it's amazing. So mandelic peel, again, is for everybody. Any Fitzpatrick, first time peel, you're safe to go there. Then moving on to the intensive brightening, this one is going to be more geared for hyperpigmentation, but still within that skin conditioning phase. So after you've done at least 1 mandelic peel, and if it's hyperpigmentation, photo damage that you're trying to help, then you can move up to the intensive brightening. And again, you can layer the pumpkin over the intensive brightening.
Yeah, we use some very unique combinations with this peel. specifically. We have glycolic, lactic, and mandelic. So you have a little bit of protection with the mandelic. You have some great attributes with the lactic, and then certainly you have the resurfacing value of the glycolic acid, but at different percentages. In fact, we never least percentage, or the greatest amount of glycolic acid we're going to use is going to be 10%. So we still don't want to irritate that skin, and once we go above 10%, we're taking that risk. But again, the great thing that we see with this peel is that we can brighten it with some tyrosine inhibitors or lightening agents that are added, alpha-arbutin, liposhoot, niacinamide, some of the things that already are in our skincare products, but now we're putting in a peel, kojic acid. So it's a great combination.
Great peel. And can you mix the two base ones together?
I'm glad you asked. So we have to look at the skin as understanding everybody is different, and our approach has to be different. It's not one fits all, right? So by mixing, we're talking about reducing the strength or increasing the strength. You can go 50-50, and now we have a step to that mix process. So it's genius.
So what this looks like is, for example, say you have a darker skin type come in, maybe Fitzpatrick 5, and you're going to condition for 3 months, and your client comes to see you every 4 weeks, hopefully. The very first treatment, mandelic layered with pumpkin, or if they're sensitive, you leave the pumpkin out. Okay, you send them home with home care. They come back 4 weeks later. You can do the mandelic mixed with the intensive brightening together, layer with pumpkin, send them home with more home care. They're coming back 4 weeks later, and then maybe that time you're just doing the intensive brightening, or maybe you can dermaplane beforehand, or microdermabrasion, dermaplane or microdermabrasion, followed by the intensive brightening, followed by the pumpkin.
Yeah, as long as the skin is conditioned.
Ready for it.
And again, using our home care products allow for that.
Exactly.
So it's exciting because you move pretty quickly through this process as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. So that's base 1 peels. Let's move into the accelerator category. We put the pumpkin peel in its own category of the accelerator because hopefully one day we're going to create maybe another one like papaya or pomegranate or something like that.
Combination of fruits, yeah.
But tell us why the pumpkin doesn't necessarily matter and what is the most important aspect of the accelerator.
Yeah, a lot of people think pumpkin, papaya, cranberry is based on the enzymes specifically related to those fruits. By the time you actually get done creating this product, the amount of value from that is diminished to the point where really the pumpkin is really not doing what you'd think a pumpkin would do. I mean, really, it's down to less than 10% of the actives from the pumpkin. And so what is necessary is for us to add into that product the things that actually are going to help change the skin. One of the things that we do is we layer over the top of all of our base 1 peels. And to do so, we use an ingredient called bilberry. Bilberry is amazing. It's a fruit. It actually acts as an enzyme as well in a certain function. But most importantly, it's a vasodilator. And it creates the necessary strength to push it down into the skin. When I say strength, I talk about activity. So that activity is what's driving in the underlining peels, mandelic or intensive brightening peel. So now we have control of it, and we're able to allow the mandelic, which is a large molecule like I mentioned earlier, to actually penetrate and absorb into the skin.
Base 1 layer, pumpkin layer.
Right over the top. Simple as that.
Yeah, so bilberry is like you said, vasodilator. It expands your blood vessels. It creates this internal heat. It helps with the oxygen flow inside the skin. It helps with the capillaries. It's a powerful antioxidant on its own, and it helps with strengthening the moisture barrier as well, the oil barrier there. So a lot of great properties in that. The pumpkin peel, we don't suggest using it alone on the face, neck, or décolleté just because of the bilberry activity. It can be a little too stimulating for some people. And you're just going to get a better result when you layer the first base peel down because there's so many great vitamins and nutrients and minerals and the different acids that are going to be pressed in deeper into those deeper layers of the skin. So just more benefit. But you can use the accelerator on other parts of the body. We have a lot of estheticians that do facials, pedicures with it, hands, your arms. A lot of people get keratosis pilaris in the arms. So
we do have 30% AHA in our pumpkin peel. It's 10% glycolic again and 20% lactic. So that's the makeup of that. Plus, like you said, mentioned the amount of nutrients, vitamins, antioxidants, all these great actives that are added. So it's really truly the perfect package.
And with the lactic, it also helps with hydration.
I do want to mention, you know, initially when we launched Pumpkin many years ago, we didn't have as much bilberry. It wasn't as much of a tool for us. We have actually tripled the amount of bilberry that's in there than it was from before. And it already was an award-winning product.
At the
So-
same time, though, you added more anti-inflammatory ingredients
Correct.
too. So while
Correct.
there's more bilberry, it also feels a little better on the skin because of those added
You're
anti-inflammatories.
talking about the bisabolol?
Yes. Mashallah.
White willow bark, bisabolol?
Yes. So great peel there. Again, we know a lot of estheticians, a lot of our partners, they will dermaplane, follow it up with the base one, follow it with the pumpkin peel, micro dermabrasion, all that. So you can use it with different modalities and get a really great results. So a lot of people might never even want to get out of this combination here, and that's totally fine. These peels you can do every 4 weeks, all throughout the year. It should take the place of the exfoliation process. But when you are wanting to move up in strength with your peels and get something a little more, I hate the word aggressive, but aggressive, then you can move into our base 2 category. We've got 5 base 2s. We have our Blemish 20 peel, which is 20% salicylic, and modified Jesner, which is your traditional Jesner, but without the resorcinol. It's 8% citric acid
Correct.
instead. Then you have your full strength Jesner with the resorcinol and 2 strengths of TCA, TCA 10 and TCA 15. So tell us a little bit about base 2s.
Well, I love the choices. It's simplistic and very easy to kind of move forward. In fact, speaking of moving forward, a lot of times you think you're going to go all the way to using a TCA peel, but you can get the correction with, again, going back to the home use products, home care products. We can quite often get to where we want to get to without having to do that. So we do have the same opportunity with the accelerators, the super accelerators.
Retinol power boosters.
The power boosters. And we can go over the top with that, and we'll explain that. I'll let you explain that a little bit further.
Yeah, so base 2 peels, these are all going to be self-neutralizing, as opposed to your base 1s, which have to be neutralized with water. Base 2 peels, when they are on the skin, they are there to stay. The proteins in the skin neutralize them, so therefore your client must be ready to receive them. You can do multiple layers. We don't suggest more than 3 layers of each per treatment. You can mix these together, so if you want to do a layer of the modified Jesner followed by 2 layers of the full Jesner, you can do that.
Perfect.
You can do a layer of TCA followed by 2 layers of TCA, or TCA 10 followed by 2 layers of TCA 15. You can get really creative here.
Yeah, especially acne scarring and those conditions. Yeah.
And when you're doing that, you can definitely probably expect a good peel, but never promise that to your client just because every skin is different. But these peels, they typically do ignite an actual peeling process, whereas these are like your lunchtime peels. Base 1 peels, you can get one and pretty much do your makeup that same night.
Yeah, you're really you use the word ignite. I love the word. And what it's really doing is stimulating the growth factors and really creating that thickness in the skin, your skin cells, or your dermis. So we want to really, in this area, gently resurface the skin topically, and then as we start building with the others, we're actually getting this really nice thickness of your dermis. And especially and most importantly, with the vitamin A, the vitamin C, and especially if you're working with pigmented skin, the HQ at home.
Yeah, we're going to throw up a picture of your hands up here, and this is amazing. If anyone ever has met Tony, or if you ever do meet Tony in the future, ask to look at his hands, because he did his very own case study with just the vitamin A intense, the vitamin C intense, and the sunscreen for like 15 years.
I was going to say just for a couple days.
Yeah, just a couple days.
I've always felt that case studies are critically important. It's critically important for you to share to your clients your capabilities. And it was my way of always being able to show what is capable with the product and where the skin needs to be. Because what happens when you start using the stronger chemicals like TCA, they're not going to stop until they reach density of protein. And if that density is deeper and you have not prepared the skin and conditioned the skin, could tear up the skin a little bit, or a lot.
Yeah, and those base 2 acids, they just sit there and they just burn the stratum corneum. So what he did here, just basically through home care, was you're thinning the stratum corneum and thickening the dermis. And like you just said, that way when you're ready to put your more aggressive base 2 peels down, you don't have to travel that far to reach that protein in order to neutralize.
I think most important as we speak to this is safety and predictability.
Yes.
I think those are 2 key factors. We bring that into play in every single training and every single process that we share.
That's really essentially what this whole line does for you. It gives you that ease, that security, that comfortability, I guess, in the treatment room, because you can pretty much expect what's going to happen, because it's just such a very efficient program, I guess.
And I think it's simple.
Process. Yeah.
Really, when you think about it, it's very, very simple.
Very basic.
There's not 20 peels out there.
That's it.
Actually, and I'll take it even a step further. The power boosters, we used to have 3, so we even brought it down to 2, where you can actually integrate each other with each other. So there's symbiosis between the 2 of them. And if we're in between with somebody and you want to be on the more cautious side, you can just mix it before you use the strongest of the 2.
Yep, so the last of the categories is the retinol power boosters. We have our Retinol Cascade 10 and our Cascade 20. So like I was just saying, we used to have something called the Long Island Iced Tea, which was your intro strength of the 15. Now you can blend these 2 together. These are a big blast of vitamin A for the skin. And these are also going to be, I guess, self-neutralizing. They have to stay on the skin in order for the retinol cascade process to be effective in the skin. To convert retinol to retinoic acid, you have to leave them on the skin. So these can be layered right on top of your base 2s, because again, these are also staying on the skin. Or if you're in your skin conditioning phase with your base 1s, you would use these, remove them in the treatment room, and then apply your retinol cascade. Your client goes home and they wash it off a few hours later.
And what's exciting about the retinol peels, you don't feel them on application, so you're not irritating the skin initially with it. Again, you talk about the cascade effect, or the enzymes converting the retinol into retinoic acid. That's over a period of about 5 or 6 hours. Well, whether that is before you go to bed or you take it off before you go to bed. Some people actually sleep with it on the skin too.
That's me.
Yep, there you go. So
vitamin A, retinol, what's the benefit? People know.
Well, retinol is going to stimulate growth factors. It is probably the most important product to all the products that you use, along with vitamin C. Those 2 are critical. But the retinol is that beginning process. Essentially, it's very similar to what that is, but at a reduced level for at home. So that reduced level, in our case, is, if you're asking me about our vitamin A and why it's so important, is the concentration. What a lot of people don't realize is you have different choices of retinol as a manufacturer to purchase. So we actually buy that ingredient, and we have a choice of 20, 40, or 50%. We use the 50%. And not only do we use the 50%, we actually double. So of the 20%, 95% of all, or more, of the vitamin A products out on the market in the retail level are really very diluted. And they really won't have what you talk about, the cascade effect on the skin itself. So you're not converting the retinol into retinoic acid at really any level. Because we do what we do, which is very rare. I don't know if other people are doing that, but it's very rare to do that. So it's a 50C, we call it. We double it. So now let's just say with our vitamin A intense, which is our most popular product, it's 0.8. We're actually using 1.6 to get that 0.8. So what we end up with is something very similar in value to maybe retinoic acid after it cascades into retinoic acid. So it actually
Retinol.
But the difference is we're able to manipulate it. So we will add anti-inflammatory ingredients to it as well, hydrating ingredients. We have
agents.
Yeah, the tyrosine inhibitors, and then we certainly have lactic acid in here, and that's actually quite hydrating to the skin. So all the negative effects that almost always come with Retin A, we've kind of taken out. So you get the benefit of that without having to have the negative effects that come with it.
Yes, it's amazing. So retinoic acid is actually the the only clinically proven ingredient to stimulate collagen and elastin 100% of the time.
Correct.
But retinol has to go through 2 conversions in the retinol cascade process once it's on the skin to convert to retinoic acid. It's retinol and it converts to retinaldehyde and it converts to retinoic acid inside the skin. So if it's not strong enough to begin with, like he's saying, like ours, double base, if it's not strong enough to begin with, it doesn't make it through the conversion to convert to retinoic acid to ignite that collagen and elastin formation.
What a scientist you are. That is so great. Yeah.
So, and not only that, it helps with the cellular turnover, so that's why it's going to help with the peel process as well. It helps with texture. It does have the direct connection with the fibroblast cell. Lightens the skin as kind of its own tyrosinase inhibitor itself. So many benefits.
But essential.
Yes.
You're not doing this without it.
Yeah.
In fact, you can't even start, you can't begin to go here without that.
Yes. So don't be scared of these two because they're a lot of fun. And the Retinol Cascade 10 is the introductory strike. So just play around with that to begin with. And when you're feeling more confident, then move up to the 2020 because this is spicy girl. She's good though.
Yeah, and we have tremendous education that goes with this. And you're going to see some great videos coming up here real soon, and some already that exist.
Yeah.
So
check out our video that Tony and I did. It's the intro into dermodality. It's about an hour and a half. You get a really good deep dive into to the line, and then we also do have trainings and live hands-on in San Marcos, California, Las Vegas, Nevada. Then we do have monthly Zooms as well, so lots of education. But before we go, I feel like we should break down the base 2 a little. Like we didn't talk about each one very well, so let's do that for you guys. So Blemish 20, this is 20% salicylic. Correct. Really good for oily acne skin types, your typical blemish.
Pretty basic.
Yeah, salicylic peel. So then the modified Jesner, this is if you're, again for texture, think these 3, Blemish 20, modified Jesner, and Jesner are going to be for your texture clients. When you're wanting to control bacteria, you're wanting to help with, bumps and all that. I
absolutely adore the modified Jesner because it gives you some strength, it gives you something that's predictable, and it's not harsh on the skin itself. It's great for acne, it's great for, anybody, from a surface level. It really is. I think it's kind of like our Mandelic beginning the process of our base 2 peels.
Yes.
And you have predictability, control, you can use it with everybody. I think it's an amazing peel.
It is, and I like what you just said because once you're done with the skin conditioning in the base 1 category, now you come over to base 2s and you don't have to be scared by this category because we have another conditioning phase in this as well, and that's like you're saying with the modified Jesner. So if you're nervous for self-neutralizing peels, start with the blemish peel or start with the modified Jesner and just do 1 layer and see how it goes, and then with that you become more comfortable to do multiple layers. And eventually move up to our advanced base 2 protocol, which is a vasodilation first with the pumpkin peel, removal, up to 3 layers of your base 2 with your retinol 20 booster. That's a crazy and amazing treatment, but work up to that. So after the texture has been, treated, if there is any, and you're wanting to now maybe take care of post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation or any more scarring, move up to your TCAs. So with TCAs, think premature wrinkling, premature aging, sun damage, overall brightening.
I want to share a little story.
Yes.
So I remember in the day, and I'm talking about like the old days, 2004. Seems like not too long ago, but I mean, really, we did not have, or there wasn't any, like I said, you mentioned earlier in this conversation, there wasn't any education there. And I was at shows, and we're introducing our pumpkin peel, because we've had that for 24 years. And the people next to us were selling TCA peels, no protocol, no information, no education. Once you get the education, the proper protocol, they are the most amazing peels to work with.
Definitely.
And that's really, if there's anything that we created in this whole process, and by the way, Dermodality stands for skin process, is that it makes working with those type of peels, I don't want to say child's play, but it does make it very comfortable to work with.
Absolutely. I think we see the best results from our SDR partners that come to our training and really gone down the deep dive, because in our trainings you learn just really about skin physiology. You understand acids and you understand how all the things work, the stem cells, the growth factors. And so this knowledge that you're able to take with anything, if you do work with other lines, because our line does play nice with others, although personally, we don't feel like you have to go outside of our line. But with this knowledge, you're able to understand other lines as well, because it's all a basic understanding of just skin physiology.
Correct. And as you get to know I keep going.
Lastly, why don't you tell them about our new labels and the QR codes?
I love the idea. So the QR codes that are on every single peel guide you through the peel itself. So never you'll say, oh, I don't have my protocol with me. You do. Not only do you have the protocol, we're actually having videos on that. In fact, many of them have videos already. So you can watch the videos, you can have the information right in front of you in your little phone, and at any time. So I think it's brilliant. I think that was your idea, and I absolutely think it's brilliant.
Awesome, yeah. So on each label, scan the QR code. You can also download the protocol straight off the website too. But yeah, in case you're in a pinch, you forgot, it just makes it very easy. So you're never feeling like, what do I do?
And you also can find us in other places too.
Where's
on
that?
our website.
Yes. Yeah, our website it's pretty thorough, got a lot of good information, and we're here to help guide you with whatever you need. So just reach out